Welcome back to Maine Tiny Homestead. Today we're going to talk about chamomile. This is one of my favorite herbs to grow. It is a perennial and it comes back year after year. Today we're going to be picking the flower heads off and preserving them. So it's been a few days since I picked these off, and what I'm trying to do now is just pick the big ones. So if you can see the difference in size between the big ones and the small ones, I'm going to try to pick all of the big ones off today. Well, not all of them. I'm really only going to pick about a third of what is the largest blooms that came out, that have been out a few days. Once we picked all of the ones that we want to get for today, I'm going to bring the basket downstairs and we're going to air dry these on my racks. So here we are downstairs, and I have a makeshift environment here. So what I have here is a folding table, a couple of pieces of wood on top of that, and then I have an old screen. And these are the flowers from last week that I put out there to dry. So what I'm going to do is take these off and get them in a jar. But you can see I just have the screen right on top of the wood that actually lifts it up a little bit and gives you some airflow underneath and over on both sides of everything. Look at the size difference between the flowers that were just picked and the ones that have been on the screen for a week. So the one thing about chamomile is they're really small flowers and they dry up even smaller. So it takes a lot to get a jar full. It might take the whole season before we fill a mason jar. But all I'm going to do is just brush these off to the side. You have to do it very gently. I usually use like a piece of paper or something just to push them off to the side so the petals don't get too caught in the screens or anything. So I'm just going to push this all along to the side, make it in a little bit of a pile, and then I'm going to get a piece of paper and push it all on there. I have a fold in this piece of paper and I just brushed it all off the edge and onto that. The fold will help me put it in the jar when we're done with that. So here's all the fresh ones that we just picked, and I'm just going to sprinkle them all over the screen, and we're going to leave them here to dry. I'm going to try to spread them out as best I can without crushing them or putting too many in one pile. And I'll just sprinkle them all over the screen here. And that's it. I mean, I'll brush these couple apart so they're not too far on top of each other. But other than that, I'm going to leave them until next week, and then I'll add them to the jar. Let me show you how I put the dried up chamomile in the jar and how much it really filled up. Not much at all. So I have the paper that was folded, and I'm just going to gently tap it in here so they don't go flying all over the place, and get them in the jar here. So it really didn't fill up that much. Oops, dropped one. So barely covering the bottom, and that's for one whole week drying. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do what we call conditioning, is where you keep the lid on it, and then we're going to shake it every day for a week. And we're going to check it. When we shake it, we're going to make sure there's no condensation. If there is, we got to put it back on the rack to dry. But if there isn't, then we're good to go. And as always, thanks for watching Maine Tiny Homestead.